All right, Sag. So some of you are some lucky fat cats right now, for sure. So from Halloween, you pulled Black Cat, Fortune Meets Opportunity, and then you pulled the River Queen from Hidden Realms, flow, letting go, and natural movement. But this did show up as a challenge for you, but it's actually a good thing. Now with Black Cat, this is saying that you guys are lucky, lucky, lucky right now. Something really good is about ready to cross your path. And it's saying to take advantage of every special opportunity that comes your way. But then when you're looking at the River Queen as a challenge, it's saying that you may feel like you're being swept away by the current of events, but it's a good thing. Like, you're not going to drown by any means. It's saying be fearless now and go with the current of events. This can be an adventure. It's all right, Sag. Here's your overall for the week. The Seven of Cups. And I don't see this so much as, fantasizing about things. I think that you may have, this, oh my God, if I could talk right, this to me speaks more to the fact that you may have several different options in front of you. But what are you going to choose, right? I don't think that this is about you not making something happen here. It's just, okay, well, what do I do here? It's not necessarily a bad thing. Oh boy. In the past, the Ace of Wands. So clearly here, there is, an opportunity that you may have been thinking about, and now it's coming back around. There may be an opportunity here to do something new on the creative end. Looking at the Ace of Wands, there's passion, physical action and passion. It's good, right? But I almost look at that Seven of Cups and think you're like, but I've got these other things though. Do I really want to choose this one? Oh boy. All right. So in the present, the Page of Cups. Now, we can definitely be talking about, the communication of emotions, you possibly feeling something new here. But again, creativity is what comes up with these. Especially with the Ace of Wands. For some of you, you may have, a new feeling around an opportunity that may have been there before, but now you feel a little bit different about it, but it's not a bad thing. It's good, right? But it may be based on communication that comes through to you. The Hangman in future conditions. So what is it that you're waiting on? And I think that this is you doing this to yourself because of the Seven of Cups being there. And it could just be that there are other things that you are bound to, which, I get with this Hangman because, look at him, right? He's completely bound here. But it could be that, you are needing to see things differently when it comes to, this Ace of Wands coming through, whether we're talking about, new job, new creative endeavors, new relationship, whatever passion is coming through for you, looking at the Hangman, it may be because there are other things that you have to consider. But for some of you, it may be that you're trying to understand, this whole thing with the Page of Cups, the new feelings, the communication, but, I'm waiting to see, right? Your best path to follow, the Queen of Pentacles. I'm telling you, the King and the Queen have been showing up like crazy. The Queen of Pentacles. Now, if we're talking about, feeling insecure, then I can understand why there may be hesitation on, making most of that Ace of Wands. But then the other thing though, too, is this is really about, you can do this, right? I think of needing confidence, but it's not in a Queen of Wands type of way. It's not about enthusiasm and passion. It's about having confidence in your ability here to, create that kind of security in what you're choosing. Needing to be confident and not feel insecure about the choices that you make. Now, definitely with the Page of Cups, it could be because of the person you're dealing with. But I don't know. I look at her and like I've said before, I think of somebody who has no problem creating, comfort and stability in her own life. She doesn't need anybody to help her. But I look at that Seven of Cups and I think some of you may be, questioning the choices that you make. And that may be why there's this feeling of the Hangman, Oh Oh, in your environment, the Ten of Swords. So now, and that may be the issue. Okay, so if we're looking at the Seven of Cups as the overall, and we're talking about all the different choices you have in front of you, and you have the Ace of Wands coming through, looking at the Page of Cups, there may be new feelings surrounding this opportunity, but with the Ten of Swords, you're talking about, things not going so well, the difficult ending, the painful ending, right? And then looking at the Hangman, it's like, okay, so, things may not have gone so well, but that opportunity is still there. Is there a reason why there needs to be a different perspective on this? And are you feeling insecure? Are you feeling like, this isn't the right choice for you? But I do worry, though, with that Ten of Swords being in your environment. But the thing is, I'm looking at you and you're being given, a wonderful opportunity. You're lucky as hell. Things may feel like they're out of control, but really they're not, looking at the River Queen. But I don't know, this bothers me a little bit looking at this, and it's no wonder why there's a feeling of insecurity based on the choices that you make. And then the other thing that can be said about this is that you may be going through a difficult, painful ending, but you may have, this new opportunity coming through, but because of this, it may be preventing you from actually making the choice. I don't know. And then I look at that Ace of Wands and think it was there at one point, but it may not have gone that well. Some of you may feel like you're being naive, and that's why there's not, a clear choice being made. Your hopes and your fears, the Eight of Swords. Yeah, I'm telling you, for some of you, it's just you're stuck mentally, right? More so than anything else. I don't think that, for some of you, absolutely, there could be, other things that you may feel like you're stuck with that may be preventing you here, and then looking at the Hangman, right? But I don't know, I think this is more so about the way that you're thinking about things, especially if they're coming through in a way that's making you feel something different, something that you haven't felt before. But clearly you don't see how it's possible that this could even begin again. And if we're talking about like fantasizing about things, with the Seven of Cups, you may not be making a choice because of the expectation, especially if things have ended in a really difficult way. And that may be where the mental trap is right now. Because I feel like for a lot of you, this has already happened. Even though it's still in your environment, it's still a factor in, what choices you make. And then looking at the Eight of Swords, like I said, you can't see a clear path through. I mean, you're trying here, coming out with the Hangman, but I don't know. I don't know that you can. But as a hope, it would be that, you're not doing this anymore, that you see the clear path and you don't keep yourself bound to a certain way of thinking, based on what you've experienced before when opportunities like this come through. Because I'm telling you, I feel like you've already experienced this. And then coming out, the Eight of Wands. Okay, so is it that things are moving too quickly and you're not ready to make a choice? Which absolutely could be the case, because again, I look at the River Queen and I think of the Eight of Wands, things moving at a fast pace, energy moving swiftly, the need to act, but the inability to do so because mentally you're blocked due to, what you've experienced. But, I look at this and think you need to just kind of let go and go with it, But again, right, the communication that comes through though too. Yeah, whatever is coming through could definitely be about, a business opportunity here with the Ace of Pentacles, but it looks good, right? Now with the Queen of Swords, that to me, I mean, definitely could be the person that you're dealing with, but if that's the case, she's being very direct with you. Very direct, very honest, straight to the point. But, like I've said with her, looking at this card, she's like, okay, I'll go with you and we'll do this, but, don't cross me or I'm going to stab you, right? But now, in terms of you, it could just be that you're cold and shut off, like very defensive almost. And then you have the Nine of Wands, which absolutely, sorry guys. But with the Nine of Wands, you know, I look at this one and it's like somebody who is like peeking out and seeing what's coming, you know. I don't so much feel like this is about persistence here with this Nine of Wands. I feel more so that this is about paranoia. What is coming? What am I up against? You know, what am I going to have to fight through this time? You know, but that's not necessarily the case, right? But if you're peering out, you're seeing the Ace of Pentacles, which, you know, again, right, very lucky opportunity coming through here that absolutely you need to make the most of. But I don't think that you guys are ready to move quickly on anything right now because of the Seven of Cups being there. You know, but the Ace of Pentacles, like I've always said, this is something that can take you the long haul. There's definitely financial gain to be had here, but continued growth, right? But can you see your way past, you know, the mental block that you've already put in place for yourself? Wow, man. And this is one of the reasons why I love this deck, because it throws me for a loop. But then at the same time, like this one more so than any other deck makes me look at things in a very like positive light, you know, regardless of the difficulties surrounding the situation. Compassion and understanding, not just for yourself, but for others. Psychic knowing, you know, right? Needing to pay attention to that. And confidence, needing to have confidence in the choice that you make, right? You know, definitely for those of you who have been through some pain here, it's okay to feel something new, you know, and I feel like that's where compassion is coming through. Psychic knowing. You don't need to be on the defensive here. Psychically, you know how things are going to turn out. And confidence. Have confidence in the choice that you make. So getting back to what you love and then expressing love, right? Even though, you know, things don't seem very clear right now. But that's all based on what you've experienced, you know? But again, right? Reevaluating things. And with the Hangman, like, I think that you're trying. You know, you're trying to see things from that different perspective. And then not only that, but being given an opportunity here to do what you love. But, you know, right, like if you're wanting love in your life, then you need to be willing to express it. Despite the fact that things may not have gone so well before, you know, and you may be used to being in situations where things just end really badly. That may not be the case here. That may be your own mental block that's making you, you know, continuously look at this in your environment. Because like I said, I don't know, something about that makes me feel like you've already experienced that. That's not something you're going to face anytime soon. It's already there. It's just that there's different feelings around what is still coming through and what you've already been through when it comes to these same types of opportunities. But it looks good. Like I'm telling you, you guys are lucky as hell right now. If you have these good things coming through, you know, I understand being on the defense, but don't completely push these out. You know, things may change in a way that, you know, you weren't expecting. You know, and again, I look back at that black cat and think, you lucky, lucky so-and-so. Great, Sag. I'm telling you, it's all about the confidence right now for you. You know, and not feeling insecure about, you know, the choices that you make. You know, and again, you could definitely have several different options here in front of you. But then also, if we're talking about something that you've been fantasizing about, right, with Seven of Cups, you know, it's really about, you know, like I said, being confident, but then also, you know, looking at things differently here, especially with the Hangman. I do think that there's going to be some new feelings surrounding an opportunity coming through that you may have experienced before that didn't go so well. Now, with that Ten of Swords, it may be that, you know, we're getting over this now, you're getting back to that place of clarity, and there's all these new feelings that may be preventing you from actually making a choice, because we're still looking at the Seven of Cups, so you're not actually doing it. Now, with the Hangman and looking at the Eight of Wands, I don't think that you're ready yet for things to start picking up the pace. You know, I think that that may be why, you know, the River Queen is showing up and feeling like things are just kind of like rushing around you. But it's saying that, you know, this is a good thing, right? Especially with it showing up as a challenge here. It's not about letting go here. It's about going with the flow. You're not going to drown, but then also you're lucky Lucky, lucky right now. Now, looking at the Eight of Swords, I do think that because of that Ten of Swords being there, you don't see how, you know, this is going to live up to what you have been thinking about. There's no clear way through here, and a lot of it is just the mental trap, because like I said, with that Ten of Swords, I think you've already experienced that. But there are new emotions that are being brought up. Now, looking at the clarifiers, like I said, it makes sense that you would be defensive, right? Now, if you are dealing with a person with the Nine of Wands, it's almost like, are they being honest? You know, I want to see, are they really being honest? And then here's that Ace of Pentacles. Like, yeah, you know, this is an opportunity that, you know, has really good potential. When you look at the Ace of Pentacles, you're talking about something that's going to take you the long haul. Continued growth, sustainability, you know, the potential for financial gain, absolutely. But you have to be able to, you know, see things clearly here and make a choice, despite the fact that things may not have gone so well before. You know, it's almost like looking at that Ace of Wands and going, yeah, I've seen this before and I know how this ends. But that's not it, though, because you're still blocked by it, but yet at the same time, there's all these new feelings coming through, you know? And if you're talking about somebody communicating to you, you know, I can understand, again, why you would be like, you know, are they telling the truth, right? But either way, I mean, things look good. Don't feel like you have to be rushed, though, you know? But don't keep yourself bound to a certain way of thinking or a certain way of seeing things, though, either. You know, and then I go to compassion, psychic knowing, and then confidence, I'm telling you, right? Compassion. Having compassion for yourself for what you've been through, but psychically knowing that, you know, not everything is going to end that way. You know, but then, right? Confidence, being confident in what you know and what you psychically know about what is being offered here or the opportunities that are coming through. Now, back to what you love, doing what you love, but then also if you want more love in your life, if I could talk right, you have to be willing to express it, right? But once you do, you get back to a place of, you know, getting to do what you love here. Lucky, lucky. I like it. I understand the difficulty in seeing things clearly based on what you've experienced. But, you know, it's almost like I get the feeling of, you know, I'm hearing, if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. But this is going to like change that thought completely for some of you.